Hello everybody, my name is Average Election Enjoyer. Today is October 6th of 2025, and I just wanted to give what is likely the last breakdown that you'll see from me of the 2025 governor's races. You can see we have the Virginia governor's race, Earl Sears versus Spanberger, and the New Jersey governor's race, Chattarelli versus Sherrill. So as you've seen anything, I'm not gonna spoil anything too much. But one of these races has definitely gotten fairly competitive in recent times. Off the bat of an impressive debate performance or a lack of impressing debate performance from one candidate or the other. So I just wanted to go into these races. Just a disclaimer, if anything crazy happens in these elections, I always like to say crazier things have happened. American politics has had, there's been some things that have happened in the past that have really shaken up elections. So if anything like that happens, expect an update. However, for the time being, this will be my final prediction for these two races, Virginia and New Jersey, their governor's races. So first, I want to start with Virginia, the less competitive of the two races in mine and a lot of people's opinions. As we can see, this is real clear polling, and I brought up a lot of these. We have both of these recent polls here for both of the governor's races. However, we're going to start with, as I said, Virginia. Most recent poll, Sunday, October 5th, so just yesterday, from CRISPR Newport University. Spangenberger up 10, 52 to 42. Thursday, October 2nd, we are from the Washington Post, 12-point lead by Spanberger, 55-43 over Earl Sears. And if we go back here, we could see that the performance has remained relatively consistent, even starting from very early on when neither candidate was really cracking 50%. I always like to look at polls. That's how I like to view polls a lot of the time is, well, of course, you got to look at the quality of the pollster. But a very important thing to always look at, you can't just look at the margin. You have to know sort of the backstory behind the polls, and also you got to look at the percentages, because one candidate could have a 30-point lead in the beginning and just purely off of name ID. However, races will always, especially if it starts with just like 30 to 10 or something like that, then you can never really take those polls into too much effect, because there's just too many voters who are undecided, and a lot of them will come home for their respective party. And in this case, Virginia used to be a red state, was competitive back even in the early 2000s. However, Democrats really pulled away in recent years. Virginia has been safely blue for a decent bit now. Well, not safely in terms of margins. However, they've been safe in terms of consistently voting for Democratic candidates. So you can see Spanberger 17. So 17, 4, 12, 7, 5, 9, 12, 6, 5. And then as we can see, these last couple of polls have been above double digits, and Spanberger consistently cracking 50%, which is a good sign for the Democrats. And Earl Sears only being at low 40s is a bad sign for the Republican Party, especially because, as this is Virginia, uniquely affected state by Trump's policies, a lot of government workers there, very close to the DMV, and also just a lot of government workers, similar with Maryland. And his policies have been, against the bureaucracy, or at least in terms of limiting the bureaucracy and whatnot. I just am keeping this channel nonpartisan. I spoke about this a little bit ago. Well, a lot of it ago. But just to bring it up, I try to keep this channel as nonpartisan as possible. But it's just a fact that Trump's policies have been impacting the bureaucracy, whether you agree with it or not. Virginia is a uniquely affected state in that regard. Lots of government employees. And as it has been, as I was saying, a consistently blue state, a lot of these undecideds are probably still going to fall for the Democrats. So, as we can see, polls around 10%, 12%, low tens is what the polls are suggesting. And if we go here to the Cook Political Report, just to quickly break down the sort of ratings that they give: solid, these races are not competitive and are not likely to become closely contested. Likely, these races are not considered competitive at this point, but have the potential to become engaged. Lean, these races are considered competitive races, but one party has an advantage. And toss up, they're the most competitive. Either party has a chance at winning. So if you are ever sort of confused about these ratings that this website gives, every website sort of holds their own sort of ratings. Like some websites like to do it in terms of actual data, so they'll say 15 and above is safe, 5 and above is likely, and then go from there. Some websites like to do it in terms of descriptions, just like this website. So if you're ever confused about how their ratings are differentiating, you got to make sure to read in the what they actually mean by these ratings, because they could mean different things to different websites. And if we go down, if the Democrats win this race, it would actually be a flip, as the past governor was a Republican. And we can see here, Virginia, open seat. The Republican governor is not running again, term limited. As you can see, in the likely Democratic column, likely is it's not competitive at this point, but has the potential if something happens, whether Spanberger make a mistake or Earl Sears runs a particularly effective campaign, which has not been happening recently. Earl Sears has been taking some dings on her campaign. A lot of people criticizing how she is running, and she's currently struggling to even get really a nomination from Trump and very powerful Republicans. So it seems that Republicans are sort of giving up in this race, so we might expect it to become even less competitive in the future. However, I am going to put Virginia in the likely column for me. Safe would just be 99% chance of winning. Virginia is just like probably 75 for me. Just to quickly break this down: safe, as I said, 99% chance of winning. Likely, for me, would be something crazy would need to happen, a sort of scandal or something like that would need to happen to sort of boost the other candidate, or particularly if good debate performance, something like that would need to happen to make the race even competitive. A lean would be one party just has an advantage on the other. And then a toss-up is, of course, a pure toss-up. So that's how I'm going to be going by these races. So Virginia, likely calling for Democrats. We'll see if this race keeps on going better and better for Democrats. Might be safe in the future. Something happens to the Democrats, might be lean in the future. But this is where I think the race is going to stay until November and election night. So the second state that I'm going to go into is New Jersey. And this is definitely the more competitive of the two. Jack Ciattarelli putting up a very good performance against Mickey Sherrill in the last debate. Things have really been closer there for the Republicans. New Jersey's been a right trending state as it is. Last election was pretty competitive, under 7 points if I remember correctly. So this will be the race to watch. At the beginning, both races were seen as somewhat competitive. However, this has been Virginia has really shifted to the Democrats, and New Jersey is shifting to the Republicans more and more these days, it seems. So if we could see the most recent poll that we have here on Real Cool Polling is September 29th, which only had Mickey Sherrill up by 8. And then in this poll by Qantas Insights, Sherrill only up by 2. On Wednesday, the 24th, it was a statistical tie. New Jersey governor, from Quinnipiac, we had +9, +10. So as you can see in past polls, that it was hovering high single digits for Democrats, with Sherrill getting 51% only in one of these, well, two of these polls, but this one just had a large amount of undecideds for Chattarelli, so that's why you could see it's such a large margin there. But yeah, you could see Cheryl hovering around 45%, 47, 46, 49, finally cracking 50 with Chattarelli only at 42, and Chattarelli struggling to get to 40. However, in recent times, Chattarelli's gone up to 43, 46, 42. So Chattarelli's around the similar amount as Earl Spears, about 43% of the vote. However, Cheryl is struggling to crack 50% as well, indicating how this race is much closer than the Virginia race. Because, as I said, a lot of people tend to come home for their respective parties. So even with the race closing up, it's still, I think, unlikely for Republicans to actually win this race. New Jersey's been consistently blue for a long time, and I don't see it cracking in this special election, especially as Democrats have had advantages in turnout in these most recent special elections. However, this race could be closer than I imagine, and it could surprise a lot of people, me included. If we go to the Cook political report, again, solid, likely, lean, and toss-up. If we go to Democrats, their held seats, they only have New Jersey as a lean at this current moment. That means that it is considered competitive, but one party does have an advantage, and I think that is a perfect way to describe this New Jersey race, wherein Democrats have a inherent advantage in terms of population and just sort of unpopular Republicans, but Jack Chattarelli has is sort of winning. I like to say the vibes in New Jersey are looking more red than especially in Virginia and a lot of other places right now. So the vibes, I like to say vibes because I think it's more fun. The vibes are definitely on the side of Chattarelli there in New Jersey. However, I think the Democrats still do have that inherent advantage, and I do think that will carry them to the finish line in New Jersey. I'm going to put it as lean. I think it's going to be significantly closer than Virginia. It's basically the opposite of Virginia, where in Virginia the Republican has collapsed. Earl Sears has sort of collapsed in her race. Chattarelli has really stepped up and really making this a competitive race, more competitive than it should be. Democrats should be looking at New Jersey and should be considering exactly how they're going to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. Because if this was a Republican wave year, this would be a disaster. However, because this is shaping up to be a blue 2025 and 2026, at least leaning, if not, some people are throwing the T word around, tsunami. I'm not yet fully convinced in that for that. However, I do think it's going to be a bluer year just based on backlash and just past trends with presidents tending to not the parties in power tending to not do too well in the midterms. I think that it's going to be a leaning blue year. However, just as Republicans really need to take a deep introspective on what's happening here in Virginia, Democrats need to have an introspective here in New Jersey, because this could be a disaster waiting to happen. If just one more thing goes wrong for Mickey Sherrill in this race, it could be very much so flipped to the Republicans having a very, very significant shot at winning this election. So that's where I think that the 2025 governor's races are at. Virginia being very likely for the Democrats. I'd put it somewhere between safe and likely, and Republicans edging ever closer to getting it even into not toss-up territory, but it's inching closer to being less lean. Or it was somewhere, for me, it was somewhere between likely and lean. It's getting further and further into the lean category as we go on. And we just have to see how Chattarelli keeps on doing, if he keeps on riding the wave that they are seeing in their state. And then we just have to look and see at the results and see exactly how these states end up voting, and that will be very important for these upcoming 2026 races and beyond. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your guys' day.